So like I was saying, Texas is the nation's #1 producer of cabbages, but the state vegetable is actually the onion. Yeah. Yeah.
I would have never known that.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to episode 42 of Carvers and Creators, a weekly demonstration and discussion with pumpkin carvers, sculptors, and multi-talented artists. We humbly ask that you please consider giving us a like and a follow on the platform you're watching us on. And please let us know in the comments where you're watching from and if you have any questions for the carvers and our special guests. My name is Michael Mondragon. I'll be running the show, moderating comments, and chiming in from time to time. Let's meet the carvers. First, he is an artist and sculptor from Boston, Massachusetts. He is a 2019 champion of Food Network's Outrageous Pumpkins. Paul Dever, welcome.
There he is.
Hey, happy Thursday, everybody.
Right on. So, this would help, right? Yeah.
That's him. Okay, now
boom, boom, boom.
Me the whole time.
Now
Don't
there's a
worry about it.
Yeah. Next, he's a multimedia sculpture artist from Tucson, Arizona, and a finalist on Halloween Wars 2019 on the Food Network. Matt Harper, welcome.
God bless us all.
Hi, Maddie.
Our guests today are comic book sculpting nerds who are taking over the world one fantasy sculpture at a time. From the great state of Texas, please welcome Brandon and Jared, the Shiflett Brothers. Welcome.
How's it going, guys? We're stoked to be here. Stoked to be here.
Amazing.
Great. Well, I mean, Matt and Paul talk about you so much that they are so giddy right now that you are on. And so, yeah, exactly. I don't want to blow their cover or anything. Even the dogs are excited.
Yeah.
So let's
being
look,
here, guys.
yeah.
We really appreciate the invitation, y'all.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Let's look at our last week's carvings. This is Paul's from last week. It was a maniacal caveman was the subject.
It
So,
was tougher than I thought it would be.
yeah.
Good
Yeah.
job. Man, that looks great.
Oh, thanks.
I love the hair, Paul. The hair makes that thing. That's
I
so
bailed
cool.
out on the beard, man. I had all intentions of doing a beard, and my fingers were super glued together, and I was like, you know what? He shaved.
You know,
I got no fingers. I got no dukes.
a maniacal, clean-shaven caveman.
That's
What
right.
made him maniacal?
He's
They were like,
still
"Why are you
young.
shaving?"
Yeah, he's still young.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I like about it is actually the actual texture of the skin, which usually go pretty soft, and it's got a lot of texture in there.
For sure.
Usually, that's not something that you do, Paul.
Well, they had no moisturizer. I don't think. I don't think it's been proven that they had any moisturizer.
Right. You're a scientist at heart, Paul. Good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Attention to detail.
Yes. And here's Matt. Matt,
Nice.
actually a late entry here. I didn't think you were going to get this in, but yeah, this is excellent, Matt.
Thank
Great.
you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I went with the bone through the nose, only because this is what he was into back then, and
Yeah.
and the maniacal part
Character.
was kind of thanks. I liked the I was trying to go with the kind of like, are you shitting me kind of like look,
Yeah.
anyway. So
Good job. It's really nice.
thanks guys. Hearing that from you, I'm blushing, I'm gonna start crying. That's all I'm saying.
Again.
Well, I want to introduce you to the fourth member of Carvers and Creators. It is the Hella Wheel, the Hollow Wheel, the Center Spinner. So let's get on Paul and see what we're going to be spinning and carving today.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Thanks for being here with us. So, again, if you haven't seen this before, this is the wheel. And the wheel every week is going to dictate what we're going to sculpt. So rather than have any kind of reference or preconceived idea of what we're going to carve, we like to jump off the deep end and have anxiety for the next hour and a half. So the inner spin will be the subject. The outer spin is the emotion that we will try to give to the subject. So we've added evil, which is pretty general, cyclops, we've got gremlin, old age, zombie, animal, robot, choice. We'll give that to the Shiflett Brothers. Let them choose what we decide to carve. Elf and primate. For our emotions, we'll have repulsive, sulking, hysterical, flirty, irradiated. I can barely say it.
Oh my God.
Drunk, grizzled. I like that one.
Ooh, yeah.
Perplexed, mutating, and charismatic.
Ooh.
That runs the board, kids. That
Wow.
runs the board.
Yeah.
That is a lot of emotion.
I hate all of them. Is that okay?
I'm actually very grizzled and sulking thinking about it.
Yeah.
But so, all right, without further ado, let's make some bad decisions.
I think the dog was asking for a
Oh,
Yes.
we got evil.
evil.
Evil. All right.
Okay.
Let's see.
Pretty sweet.
Mutating evil.
Ooh. Okay.
All right.
Oh,
I like it, which is usually the
Okay.
kiss of death. But that's a good one. So,
wow.
we got mutating evil.
Evil.
Wow. Which would you would think if something was evil, it already mutated from what it was, right? You figure about
Maybe it started evil.
well, maybe he's mutating into something good. Who knows?
Yeah, like a cocoon, a kind of butterfly.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh. Get out of here, Harper. He said it to me, not you.
I know. That's right.
So we're gonna, if you're gonna be carving with us today, we're gonna give you 5 minutes to grab your tools, pumpkin, squash, any other perishable item. While we take that 5 minutes, we're going to do our traditional toast to our creations. Let's let our guests go first. What are you guys having out there in Texas today?
We are having water and coffee.
Very
Nice.
good. Very
We're
good.
That's the state drink of Texas is water and coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
Water and
maybe.
coffee. Later tonight, maybe a different story. But this is what we're starting with.
Gotcha.
It's a little earlier there.
Gotta get
Yeah.
hydrated first. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Matt, what do you
That's
got?
what the doctor says. I chose a little old Irish drink.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
jumping in the deep end.
And it was only because it was the one that had the most ounces.
Right. Hell yeah.
14.9.
You notice he said had.
Well, not for long. Yeah. How about you?
Paul, what do you got?
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I'll be drinking Mass Landing Brewing Company called All the Way Up. Get
All the
my
Way
giant
Up.
head out of the way so it'll focus.
There you go. Oh, that's cool.
All the way up. And this is a sour ale brewed with blackberries, limes, and lactose. Again, I don't know why lactose, but it's damn good. And it is 4.8% alcohol by volume, 1 pint. I don't know what those are in FLOZs, but I'm sure I'll be able to finish it.
There you go. I think
Mickey.
it's 16.9 if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Like a
Yes.
genius.
Yeah. Or I drink too much beer. Earthquake Weather Hazy IPA from Pacific Plate Brewing. If you ask somebody in California what the weather is, we say earthquake weather.
Yeah,
So
always.
it's not always nice out here. So,
Or
but yeah,
fire.
this is a really good one from a brewery that's a small brewery that's right down the street. So, yes. So, salud.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers to
Cheers,
everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Happy
Little
creations.
carving oil, we call this.
Carving oil, for
Carving
sure.
oil, yeah. You can't have any, dog. Can't have it.
Yeah.
So let's jump straight into it. For those people who do not know the Shiflett Brothers, how about
Shame
we
on
let
you.
them tell us who they are and what they do?
Yeah.
So, we've been sculpting for longer than we care to remember. 25 plus years, almost 30 years. And
Wow.
when we first started out, we were doing a lot more commercial work, licensed work for Marvel or for video games. We did a lot of collectible statue work. We also worked some in video games, some for other more idiosyncratic jobs like pitch meetings and stuff people need. But we work in about a foot tall, 10 to 12 inch scale. That's our wheelhouse, really. And we use clay. We mostly use super sculpting. But we also, these days, we use some epoxy clay, some Aves epoxy sculpt. And we make these small sculptures that can then be, of course, cast and mass produced, or sometimes by us just kind of left one of a kind. Wow. But most of them, most of the stuff people are familiar with has been mass produced, and they've seen it in magazines or from Marvel. And then about halfway through our careers, we started doing more our own concepts, our own characters and creations. So they're our own designs. and we produce those in resin, in what's called polystone. It used to be called like cold cast porcelain, and even in bronze. We have a great foundry in Austin called Deep in the Heart Art Foundry, who we work with. And as you may know, the bronze casting process is super involved and super complicated. But these guys are real craftsmen. And because of we tend to work sort of loose, and we have a rough sort of aesthetic compared to most people in the collectibles industry. And for the bronze world, we think people tend to like our stuff in bronze, the look of it. And so that's another avenue we pursue. And sometimes we start pieces and we think, oh, this is going to be a bronze. You know, we specifically think we may cast this in resin, but it's really going to be great in bronze, or vice versa sometimes. And every once in a while, we do one of a kinds for people. Some people, you know, some people just want that exclusive piece that nobody else has a copy of, and they want to put it on their shelf, and they want to say, this one is mine and nobody else has this. And so we do some of that as well.
Wow. That's
nice.
I mean, Matt and I have been huge fans for the longest time. I'm pretty sure I've tried to, at some point, mimic some of your stuff with failing miserably, because you guys are amazingly talented. But I love your style, because Matt and I are both subtractive and you guys are specifically additive. And the way that you add the clay is just so cool to me, where it's just these little teardrops at a time.
That's
building
right.
and building and building and building, and all of a sudden the skeletal structure's there, then the muscle structure's there, and then you're like, holy, how does this happen with dabs of clay?
You know, in a way, you guys are you guys are doing what the old masters did, like out of marble, you know, or out of rock, where you're chiseling away the negative space and you're leaving this great surface. Jared and I are the opposite, where we start with a wire armature. We start with a wire skeleton, and we add clay, and we block it out, and then we add the musculature. And it's a different process. And we do very little subtraction. We do a little sometimes, but not that much as people think. And so that's why you guys are carvers, and we respect that a lot, because we're not good at it, you know. We're decent when we're adding on bits and pieces and cheeks for face, but I don't know if I was carving away and leaving the cheekbone, I don't know if it would be the same at all.
It's hard. I remember trying to carve some wood just as a teenager, you know, maybe dremeling it and chisels and stuff.
Yes.
And it's hard. There's a lot more planning and stuff. We have more room to just kind of mess up.
That's it.
It doesn't, you know.
If we screw up, we just take it off, add more clay.
Yeah.
We do the same thing. We just grab another piece of fruit.
Right. Right. And I don't know what they did with marble. They were just screwed, I guess.
Yeah, they would just start. You go into a funk. For decades or something.
Well, if they messed up, you didn't know, because they said that's the way it was supposed to look.
Exactly.
Right.
She had one smaller cheekbone. Everybody knows that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think most of the guys who do what we do, our peers and our friends were almost all of them were brought into the industry by their love of movies.
Yeah.
And it's Alien and Predator. And of course, me and Jared love those movies. But at the same time, Jared and I were brought in we came from comic books.
Yeah.
We loved comic books. We were reading comic books. And we started to try, there was no statue business back then when we started in the early 90s. Wow. But we started to try to make these comic book characters in 3 dimensions. And we screwed up every way you can screw up, using the wrong materials, you know, baking it in the wrong times and stuff like that. And eventually we found our groove. And so our aesthetic, our sensibilities are very much the same, because we always liked the same comic book and fantasy artists. And we were very much inspired by a lot of these great fantasy artists, Frank Frazetta or Jeffrey Catherine Jones. And then in comic books, Bill Sienkiewicz and Simon Beasley from England. And so Jared and I very much speak the same language of these aesthetics. And so the end product, even though we're working together and there's a lot of back and forth, we very much, I think we want the same end goals. And so it's really easy for us to communicate about this stuff.
Yeah, and the fascinating thing for me is that you guys work on the same sculpture. I struggle to think of any other pair of people, maybe a husband and wife somewhere here and there in the world, but a couple of brothers who not only share the same capability, but have that same kind of artistic eye for things as well, and kind of know what each other are thinking. That's also just a whole nother topic itself that you guys can pick up where the other left off, and not there's no ego involved. This is for both of you. That's just remarkable to me.
Well,
me and my brother can't pick a radio station.
That's about right.
It's been a fist fight.
Well, Matt, when you say same capability, yeah, I'm better.
Of course.
Other capability, but no, it's true. It's true that we can hand it back and forth. And there's a time in these sculptures. Our sculptures take us so long to make. You can be staring at a sculpture for 100 hours, and you can almost just get burnt out. Like, I can't right now. Or the backside of it, I can't even deal with under the arm right here. Now, if Jared takes over, he doesn't have all this baggage, mental baggage tied into this. He's just like, I'm doing under the arm, I'm doing the back, I'm doing all of this. Yeah. It's not bothering him. So sometimes we can trade off in that way, where it's like it's a boost when you started the piece and the other guy can pick up and make it better.
Fresh eyes. Yeah, I hear that all the time with a lot of things. Is you know what? Walk away. Let somebody else look at it with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes back in the day, we would wonder how do these sculptors send this stuff out of their studio when there's only one of them? One set of eyes. Me and Jared were checking everything. Your legs are too short. I think this hand is too big or whatever, and so both of us would be going back and forth. And hey.
Two heads are better than one.
That's it.
Yeah. And did you sorry, Mickey, I just
please go ahead.
Growing up, and you said you started at a very young age. Obviously, in the 90s, you had to have been 5 years old. Obviously,
we were like 3.
3. But did you immediately get support? I'll caveat this question because Paul and I both have jobs. And we drool over folks who just, are in it and just doing what you guys do 24/7 all the time. In a lot of ways, because it's that creative outlet you just get to go after. But did you get family support at an early age? It just says, guys, go do what you want, and it's obviously this is gonna be your thing, or was there pushback from your parents?
No, they totally supported us, and actually.
Cool.
Our mother was a promoter here in the around Texas and Louisiana of arts and crafts shows. Okay. So she would have these, any kind of arts and crafts. Everybody would have a booth, and a lot of times she would give us a booth, and we could make anything we wanted and try to sell it. Now, it hardened us like steel because we never sold anything. So it prepared us for conventions later in life. But no, so in that sense, she was like, she could dig it. It was like, artists, and they were totally cool with it.
They were always supportive and biased. Like our father was in the pipeline industry. And these are people who wake up at like 4 a.m. and you go to work, and he came from like a different generation, but he never once said, that's not a real job, or you're never going to make it. Or, he was always the most supportive, our biggest fan. And so they would ask art supplies and, send us off. And our mom's still with us, and both of them, our moms still are our biggest cheerleaders.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So cool.
That is just wonderful.
It's a huge thing from a young age to be encouraged, especially when you have a gift like that. Like how you were saying, I've seen parents growing up say to their kids like, "Oh, he's an artist," and and it's like, what a shitty thing to say to the kid. You introduce them as an artist. It's like, that's not a bad thing, man. Not everybody can get out of bed and do what like you guys do. Like just about nobody can. Like and to have it encouraged is really special. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And you may have perfected something that I was just talking today about. I've been trying to clone myself so I can put out double the work. You guys may have done it,
out of the gate without even trying.
It's unfortunate because I have twin brothers. They're not twins to me; they're twins to them. But I needed a twin or a brother that I could do my work with.
There you go.
Yeah, so missed an opportunity right there.
Yeah, but they're younger than you. You could have still just had them in cages behind you and have them.
So many missed opportunities, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I noticed that your work is like super ornate as well. Like is like how long does it would it take to make some of these pieces?
We can start them very quickly, and then towards the end, it takes us forever. You know what I mean? So the initial push and the fun part is just like a week or two, and then to resolve everything and make it make sense from the back, and that's where we get bogged down. And I think a lot of people do, probably with sculpture.
And so on a lot of this stuff, we estimate maybe 150, 200 man hours.
Wow.
I try not to count.
And so this is a thing. If you work on a piece for 200 hours, you
become blind to it in certain things.
That's for sure.
One eye might be higher or lower. That's not what you were going to say.
No. Yeah. But what I was going to say was that kids would come up to us at conventions and they would say, "Hey, why doesn't this look like yours?" And I would say, "Well, how?" The kid maybe worked on it for 4 hours, and I say, "Well, there you go, bro. I worked on this for 180 hours. Let's say,
yeah,
it might be just as good as we are, but we can't know until somebody sat there for that long. And honestly, not everybody can sit there for that long. Some people have real jobs, kids have to go to school and stuff. Right. But for us, that's our process. It takes us a long freaking time.
Is something like this cast, or is that a one-off right there? Because I can't imagine the casting process is something like that.
That's a one-off.
Okay. Okay. Thank God.
So when we know it's not going to be cast like that, that's when we start purposefully making it very
super elaborate.
Involved. And
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And Coco kind of.
Yes. And we started this series of these kind of sort of rusted junkyard robots.
Yeah.
Character Professor McElroy is building these sort of junkyard robots. We can't do like real robots like Mecha. People have asked us to sometimes sculpt Iron Man.
Like a motorcycle.
We're
or
like,
something.
no.
Yeah, right.
But what we can do is sort of this rusted out junkyard feel robot, and we really enjoy that. Yeah. And when we start those, we pretty much know they're going to be a one of a kind.
And that piece actually is a customized action figure from Jackson.
Oh my gosh.
That's a Star Wars.
So that's a big thing.
Oh, right.
K2SO Rogue One. I just want to give props here so that people understand what that is.
That's
that's a very large action figure that we've exploded out, taken all apart. And actually, it's two of those action figures, and we've just added a bunch of stuff to it.
So we have a younger brother, and he's like, one day he comes in, and he's like, "Where the fuck did my K2SO figure go?" Yeah. And he's like, "You bastards!" And then he sees it, and it's like, "Oh, well, that's badass. I can't really complain because of what y'all did."
Yeah, like, well, you're still not getting it back.
We're incorporating a big toy like this, but that was a Star Wars thing we did do.
That is awesome.
It's amazing.
Well,
go ahead, Mickey.
I was going to say the one definite theme we've had with most every artist that's come on here is some sort of Star Wars influence, and everything from the cantina scene to the droid factories. I mean, that just must have made your head explode, right?
That's right. When we were kids, it affected everything. The Rancor from Return of the Jedi was a huge deal to my brother, especially. Mm-hmm. And we've done lots of monsters and creatures where if you squint your eyes and look at it hard enough, you can find the Rancor in there somewhere. In the body type and the gesture.
Oh my God, yeah.
I was that way. Same thing with it was anything in Jabba's palace is what did it to me. And it turned me into that Jabba or the Gromorian guards. Yeah, especially the Rancor. I remember I was bribed to finally get rid of the Rancor because it was so broken and I was getting older or whatever, and I think I might have got a new bike if I let go of like some of my old Star Wars broken toys. And at that point, I was like, I could ride around and see girls if I had a bike.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
But now I'm like, damn it, I didn't need that bike. I could have had my Wrangler.
I still remember the small Kenner action figures. I had a whole slew of them, but the one that I would just stare at for hours was the guy in the cantina with kind of that turtle head that came up like that. You know,
it's like a hammerhead, like a hammerhead.
Probably has a name.
It was Hammerhead.
Hammerhead.
I think it was Hammerhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just sit there and look at it, and just like turn it around, and like, what is going on? I just loved it for some reason.
He had a great profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was one that I remember in a Jedi that was like it was really skinny. In fact, they even brought it back. I think it had a really skinny head, but it was really super tall. But it looked like C-3PO, but if it was. Yeah, and then we started knowing the real names of them. I was like, and there was like this little box that walked around too. That was was like,
with the 2 feet, and they were just
I had that Kenner figure. It's like I was like,
a bunch of those guys kind of came back in the Mandalorian. Some of these droids again.
They're just off in the back somewhere. You're like, oh my god, there he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or that, do you remember in the Death Star that little Chewbacca scares him when he comes around the corner? It's like a little square box on wheels, and it just
it's like a little Roomba.
It's a that's right. What the hell did that thing do in space? You know, but all right.
But it's black and gray, as is appropriate when you're part of the Empire and you're on the Death
evil.
Star. You're an evil little rolling box.
Right. And I was even thinking about because there was R2-D2, of course, but then you would see the other ones which were like red and different colors. And so it's like there's still like those models, but then you could build off of them. And it's like I just love that they build that whole little thing. So most every artist that we talk to, we could talk about this for hours.
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely fun stuff. I know that Matt is very interested in. He always brings up music. So I know that music is a big part of.
Thanks, Mickey. I wanted to ask the brothers what they listen to, and how they listen to it when they're sculpting. Because I sit at my kitchen table or wherever carving these things sometimes with headphones on, listening to God knows what. But just curious as to what you guys listen to, and if you guys listen to something together, or if you're in the same studio, or what your musical tastes are.
Well, Brandon loves Morrissey and the Smiths and Morrissey.
Morrissey.
I like a lot of post-punk stuff, 80s, and punk stuff. When I sculpt, I listen to headphones, and so I listen to in some cases more experimental stuff if I'm sitting there for a long time. And I find that it can affect my sculptures depending on what I'm listening to. If I'm listening to something like Enya or Kate Bush, the piece starts becoming more ethereal and kind of flowing. And if I listen to something more punk rock, it becomes edgier and tougher and harder over time. It's almost subliminal. I don't even realize it's happening really.
Yeah.
So if I listen to something for long enough, it definitely starts affecting the piece. But yeah, that's the stuff I like to listen to. In some cases,
you like Garth Brooks?
No, not Garth Brooks. More atmospheric, sort of cinematic stuff, but a lot of stuff, punk rock and post-punk stuff. That's my jam.
That's awesome.
I will listen to just about anything. I like country, rap, classical show tunes. He loves
Led Zeppelin in particular.
I will listen to salsa. I will listen to just about anything and find something that I like about it.
Yeah. Sometimes I struggle with I'll listen to the same artist over and over, and it's a default, and then I force myself to listen to something else, and it takes me a completely different direction when working on something. Like you said, it can make you carve something completely different or sculpt something different. That's
really fun. It's probably doing stuff to different parts of our brains. You know what I mean? Activating.
Stimulating.
So do you guys ever sculpt in clay?
I do. Well, not in the last year.
Yeah.
Been since Matt and I and Mickey started doing this, which is coming up on a year. I really there's not enough hours in the day with the family and the work
Sure.
and kids and Thursday nights and sometimes Fridays being dedicated to carving squash. But I do have a bunch of stuff that I was doing. That was really kind of the path I thought I was going down. And then somebody saw a pumpkin that I carved and was like, hey, you want to do it? You want to be on a show? So it was like, well, apparently I'm better at carving pumpkins than I am clay because nobody gave a shit when I carved clay. So yeah, I really like carving clay. I really enjoy the monster clay. I've always been a huge fan of sculpting.
Yes.
Again, because you can throw it in the oven. I mean, and a friend of mine taught me that, again, if you're going to have a one-off piece, obviously I'm not producing a bunch of stuff, but if you're going to have something that's just for you, he's like, hit it with a heat gun.
Right.
Yeah. Just hit it enough so that it's a shell. Nobody's touching it anyway, and it's there forever. You don't got to worry about it melting, or the sagging. So I have a bunch of
that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I mean, why? Like you said before, sometimes you screw up with that temperature, or you have some real thin areas of it, and that stuff's toast if you really want to bake it all.
So with us, it's like if we get a face we really like, because we'll keep fucking with it forever. Yeah. And we can morph it back into something we don't like. Mm-hmm. So if we get something we really like, we pull out a heat gun, and you can push it. You can mask off
with aluminum
foil the rest of it, so it keeps it soft. So you're just leaving the part. You heat gun that face a little bit. Everything else is protected, and now you've got it locked in place while you're still sculpting the rest of it. Yeah,
that's a killer tip.
Yeah,
guys at home, write that down. That's a
remember.
I never even thought of that.
My problem with clay is, to answer the question, I've done clay like heads and busts and stuff like that, but the problem I have, and it's completely mental, is I have such a trouble with starting with nothing, like a wire. So I'll take, one time I took like a bag full of golf balls and mashed it up and covered it with tin foil, and then covered that with clay, and then I sat it on a thing, and I'm like, what does that look like? And then I said, okay, there's an eye. All right, okay. And this, I'll show you. But this is the guy he became. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, you still have it? Oh, look at this. You guys are getting the first sneak peek.
Inside information.
Look at it. Oh, look at that. I can't see that.
See, he became this big lumpy bastard, and he's got big sores and all kinds of stuff all over his back. And so that to me, that was the only way to do it. I had to start with something that was somewhat like, I don't know. And I know that that's just, I got to clear that out of my head. But that was my first forays into it. Is I have to have something to start with. Maybe that's
right. I get you.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
So now you guys are self-taught. That's true, huh?
Yeah, that's completely self-taught. We've now we always say, we learned in those comic books kind of what we wanted to do.
Now, so this is a great question for me because I've been dying to notice this. How do you go from being self-taught to creating for commercial? Like, how does one get into that? And then they're like, we need to have you guys.
Yeah. So the secret for me and Jared of getting discovered was the San Diego Comic Convention. And that's the biggest one in the country. And it's unlike a lot of other comic conventions in that for us, everyone who could hire us or could discover us or use us for something was in the building, at the same time. You could go to Philly Comic Convention, Atlanta. It's not exactly the same. You're going to have a great time at those places. But at San Diego, it's like a business convention. Everyone in the industry is kind of there. So we made all these one-of-a-kind sculptures, went out to San Diego, put them in the art show, and we just had a little
I have to
business
say,
card.
though, the preparation for San Diego was a Dallas show called Dallas Fantasy Fair.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I don't want to say made our bones, but that's where our booth went from just a couple of pieces in the art show to, we actually have a booth and we're portraying ourselves as these sculptor guys. You know what I mean? So and then each year it would get a little bit better and a little bit better. And so then we kept hearing about San Diego, this big convention, and San Diego, it kind of was a different time, but it was great to go out there and see, the people who could actually hire somebody, a freelancer like us. Whereas in Dallas, it's a bunch of freelancers. You're shaking hands and it's fun. But out in, at Comic-Con, people can actually hire you. And
and we got discovered really quick. We got really lucky. And I've said this before in interviews. We got lucky with who saw our stuff. We got lucky with when they saw it, and we got lucky with the shit they said about it publicly.
Okay.
Yeah. What year was that?
91, 92.
Yeah.
93. Those were our first years at Comic-Con. We went for about 27 years.
Wow.
We don't quite go anymore. The show's changed a lot. Now our favorite show is Monsterpalooza in LA, which is
that's what this shirt really is. If you look closely, it says Monster.
Oh, okay. Oh, right on. Yeah.
This is a lot of movie effects guys, makeup artists, but also, for whatever reason, a lot of people do what Jared and I do, which is little collectible sculpting guys. There's just a very sculptor-centric show.
Every booth is some kind of artist. At Comic-Con, there's a lot of T-shirts and knives.
Right.
And, Buffy the Vampire or whatever. It's not exactly comic books or like sculptor-centric, whereas Monsterpalooza is more potent. The crowd isn't as big, but it's more that niche audience.
That's right. People who are kind of focused on the kind of thing we do, and a lot of our peers are there who sculpt little maquettes like we do, and it's really a great show if you're into sculpting or 3D or makeup or anything like that.
Yeah, I always get caught up in any of those threads where they talk about Monsterpalooza. It's just so far from me. But that kind of leads me into my next question is, through Monsterpalooza, do you guys have the bug to get into special effects makeup? Do you, because you obviously have a love. I mean, we all have a love for monsters, obviously. Yeah. But do you see yourself being involved with
for sure
doing that kind of thing?
Never.
It's never been our ambition to work in movies and stuff. It just never happens.
Yeah,
we want to do our own little things, basically.
Nice.
And like in our world, we would just sculpt our own stuff all the time, and people would buy it, and that happens to an extent. We still take jobs when we're lucky in that. We're very lucky in that way. That we can pick and choose what we want to do.
Right.
But we're also in Texas, so there's not a lot of movie stuff.
We're mama's boys. We can't leave. So. But a lot of our friends are movie sculptors, and we still we still really look up to those people. Like if you sculpted sculpted monsters in a movie, you're like kind of like a god to us, even though that's not what we're pursuing. Let's say
it's still very.
I mean,
cool.
we've been asked, people have talked to us about it. Like I mentioned early on, when we started, we did some video game work. But back then,
nice.
It's everything is digital now, where they do it in ZBrush and all this. But back in the early to mid 90s, they needed clay characters, and then they would animate these characters from our sculptures. And that was one of the first people who discovered us were video game people.
That makes sense, though. I mean, that's that almost like Final Fantasy aspect to it.
Yes.
And I mean, sometimes when I see your stuff, it's like, I wish we could apply that in some way to the side of a van.
Yeah.
3D version of the stuff.
Exactly.
It's such badass. It's so badass. You guys
and talking about Comic-Con, the reason why I asked you the year that you started was because, or the years that you were going, is that I went in 96 or 97 when I first moved to LA from Arizona, and Comic-Con is nothing like it used to be. Like you could walk around and go and see. It was all like art exhibits, and
exactly.
and it had like movie stuff, and it was still really super cool for that. But then it kind of got was taken over with movie and TV, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But it stopped being what you guys used to go to, and
That's exactly it.
yeah, and there's other things that have popped up. Obviously, the one stuff in LA, and there's other stuff too. But as I know, because I'm kind of in the motion graphics community here in LA, and a lot of that stuff has moved out of here as well. It's gone other places. It's been outsourced. So where this used to be a big hub for that, it's not so much anymore. But it might be. It might come back. Who knows?
Right.
But that's more of like what the state of it. So it's very interesting that like and also you don't have to be here in LA to do it anymore. I mean, obviously people come to you now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard everybody's moving out of LA.
I just heard that too.
Yeah, they're actually going they're going to Texas. Actually, all the Californians are going to Texas.
I heard that. Yeah.
They're going to make your traffic worse. That's what
We got to stake our claim around here now.
So one thing that I want to bring up that I just am enamored with is your forum, the Shiflett Brothers forum.
Yes.
I know there's thousands of people on it, and I cannot tell you. So I'm personally, I get on Facebook, I'll post some really stupid picture, and I'll get back off. But when I'm on there, or I'll get the only updates I'll usually get are from your forum, and people posting amazing stuff every day, and then or you posting a new artist, and every single time I'm drawn in, I'm like, oh god, another. Okay, I have 10 minutes, but all right, oh shit, okay, and then I'll do that, and every single time I'm sucked in, and I love it, and some of the things that are just fascinating to me is this is worldwide. These are people. Yeah. I'm in Peru, and this is my latest thing. And
absolutely.
You look at it, and I'm like, what? Look at, and I feel like I'm like, what the hell am I doing? This guy's in Peru, and he made something that just can knock my socks off. And then the next one is something that's a little subpar, but somebody will say, how do I how do I improve? And then there'll be 20 answers, and every one of them constructive, and every one of them just like, I'm like, God damn it, that is so great. And I just am such a huge fan of your forum. And if anybody doesn't follow your forum, they really need to, especially any sculptor out there needs to follow that. It's just
thank you so much.
Wonderment in a forum. Yeah.
We appreciate you saying that, man.
So when we first started out, I think we were trying to learn how to do it, and it was pre-internet, and I think we called a big time sculptor back then. And we said, hey, man, what kind of clay, or we're doing this wrong? And the sculptor said, I'm not going to tell you that, proprietary, and you're going to take jobs from me, and I'm not going to tell you.
And that sculptor was?
No, we're not going to tell you.
Come on, boost our ratings.
Exactly. But Jared and I sort of looked at each other, and we said, okay, we're never going to be that guy. We're going to be transparent about this. Any kid, if a kid is as good as we are, we want to see that. Bring it to us. Bring it, dude. Let's see it. And so at that point, even once the internet got started, we had forums, and sometimes they were on
bulletin
boards, in different clubhouses, and some of those were formative for a lot of great sculptors, or a lot of sculptors who are in the industry. So then on Facebook, we decided, hey, let's bring that whole idea back, because it used to be like Jared and I will answer your questions, and then Jared and I got some of our famous sculpting friends to come in and help us answer questions. Now there are 35,000 plus sculptors on that Shiflett Brothers sculpting forum on Facebook, and it's like Jared and I can step back. You can have lots of people who are better than us answer questions for you. We're still involved, but we try to keep it. It's all about the art, and that's what the community is about. And we try to keep it that way. Sometimes we bring in some of our friends, these high-powered uber sculptors, and they will do like a live stream for an hour showing their processes. And we used to call this like Wednesday night all-stars, and we would have these all-star sculptors come on, and so all these youngsters and beginners of any age could watch these freaking masters, who we happen to know just by our occupation. And we love that kind of thing. And then once a year or so, we do a contest sometimes. Like, okay, everybody, let's sculpt a monster rider, a guy riding a monster. Like, everybody do whatever the hell they want, and we bring in some guys to judge it.
Yeah.
We do a marathon, like a virtual convention. Like, you get 20 minutes to show your stuff on a live stream and what you have for offer or whatever. And we do that for like 24 hours. So we have a lot of fun there. And I'm really glad you dig it, man. And we try to keep it just a positive experience for everybody, you know?
Yeah. And that's a really important thing that, and especially when you guys are as talented as you are, but you're also accessible. And there's a lot of artists out there, myself included, that I'm self-taught. Luckily, I have, decades of experience now, but I seeked it out in books and people. And there's people that, told me that they didn't want me to learn what they're learning as well. And
That's right.
It only made me hungrier to learn the craft, because I'm just like, oh, it's a secret society. I'll get in there.
Right.
I know.
Right.
I'll trick them into thinking that I'm in this secret society. But with online now, you have the ability to really push forward this craft, and that's really admirable. When did you start the carving form?
So the one on Facebook.
So a guy named, it was at least like 10 or 12 years ago. And a guy named Norm Kitman Pyatt. Some people call him the Kit Man. And he asked us to moderate a chat room, or what we thought was a chat room. We didn't even know. We were like, okay. And that was the original Clubhouse. And so we had a couple of forums. Like we were saying, on the old bulletin boards, you had to upload your pictures and have them hosted somewhere. And it was, eventually Facebook, honestly, pretty much killed that. And so at some point, we just decided, we would try to restart it on Facebook. And Facebook kind of promotes the groups. So that's why it's probably had a little bit, we'll see it.
How long have we had it on Facebook?
So the 3 or 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
4 years.
Oh, wow. So it's not even that old. I expected it to be a lot older. That's fantastic.
No, it's not. And like we said, I think it's like 35,000 plus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like almost like 38. I looked at.
Oh, yeah, okay.
36. I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. So do you guys track like the analytics of it all? Do you think in the year of the pandemic you got a decent boost from everybody being at home trying to get creative?
I think
That's
we might
a good
have.
question.
I think we might have. I have looked, and it's like Matt was saying. I used to look a lot at the analytics. We had a Shiflett Brothers page on Facebook, and I would look at who was looking at it, and it would break it down by country, and I would say, Jared, look at all these people from Saudi Arabia. There would just be surprises.
Yeah.
You would be like, what the hell, and you just we had no idea that people from all over the world were into this kind of stuff. And now with the forum, you see that. The forums never really, there are no quiet times because it's always daytime somewhere and people are posting, or even early evening. And so people are posting things, at 4 o'clock in the morning, our time, 5, and they're ready to talk about sculpting. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It's, we, obviously this show was born of COVID, really. One of
Yes.
Kind of the silver lining of some of the things, where a couple of artists we know have called this the COVID renaissance of art. You couldn't go anywhere or do anything, so you really
might as well sit there
the creative side. Yeah, right. Yeah. Idle hands are the devil's plaything, right? So might as well put them to good use.
Yeah.
And like I said, Matt and I like our bourbon, and we like our carving. And we were carving on Instagram Live, and it just so happened that the two of us. Like, why are we doing this alone? I could be sitting talking to you while I carve, which I guess when you guys are talking about listening to music, I almost prefer to have somebody else in the room carving with, or at a show or whatever, carving with me, so we can have it back and forth, almost a banter, so you can bounce ideas off of, and you can kind of just keep your mind flowing. I like to not think about what I'm doing. And I guess, like you said, music guides your mood. Whereas if I'm not focused on don't screw this up, then it's just the process. You know, I'm just carving away and I'm looking and be like, all right, that could be this, or maybe this is going to go. I'm going to push this thing down, and maybe this is going to happen with this side. And then, hey, Matt, you want to hear a boob joke? Like, hey, let me take my mind off of what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
and we rule of carving is what it really is.
And we don't take we take our medium very lightly, knowing that, you know, I say
It's
that
a
with a
fruit.
cat. Yeah, it's a fruit, right? And it's as soon as you start carving, the clock is ticking, and meaning that it's going to start looking different no matter what you do to it. So so from a perspective of hours, I think the max I've ever done on something is, you know, maybe 5-6 hours. I don't know, Paul. Maybe if we put it in the refrigerator and get it out later and add another hour or two. But inevitably, as you know, when you cut up produce and put it in the fridge, the stuff doesn't look the same the next day, right? It's the same. The same.
Right.
So we, you know, and we know these are very temporary things, and so there's something to that, obviously. But yeah, I think Paul's point about like being able to talk to somebody, where I was always in my own head, usually a bourbon here and a headphones and just kind of doing my own thing. But when you get to talk to somebody and bounce stuff off like you guys do all the time, there is something special about it, because it helps kind of further your ability a little bit more, your craft a little bit more, because you can, you know, and the creative, these are not always really positive creative criticisms. Sometimes they're ball busting creative criticisms, but you take them all.
Leave it like that.
There we go.
Yeah. That's a tooth.
Wait, what is that? Is that a oh, I can't believe it. Yeah.
Oh, that's not a cat. I thought it was a cat. Sorry.
It's a monkey.
That's insane. Look at that. Jesus.
Yeah.
So do you guys draw these up? I've always wanted to know, do you spend some time, you know, hashing out what this is going to look like on paper?
We he can draw pretty good, especially like
No.
the cartoon character.
No.
But we don't really draw them out. Not really.
Okay.
For whatever reason, we see the stuff in 3D in our head.
That's
So,
okay. That's funny.
even doing commercial work, you know, the licensor or Marvel might be like, draw us out the pose. You know, they might say, show us the pose you want to do for the Hulk. And we would say, guys, it's quicker for us overnight. We could rough out some clay and show you in 3 dimensions easier than I could use a pencil.
And we don't want to lose the job if we
start drawing. I mean, when we were 12 or 13 or 14, you know, we thought we were going to be comic book artists. Yeah, and that's what the whole point of it was.
So cool.
And so, at some point, we became old enough and smart enough to realize, we're never going to be comic artists. Like, we can't go back into space, you know, or perspective. Yeah. What the hell are we doing? And so realizing that we kind of saw in 3D and that we could do this in clay, we snuck into the industry kind of through the back door, you know, when originally we wanted to be pencil artists.
Right.
Man, that's such a great thing to hear. I love when, you know, and I love artists that do complete maquettes or concept sketches. And I'm jealous of that. But at the same time, it warms my heart to know that you guys just dive right in. You can see it in your head, because people have asked me, like, especially if I'm at a show carving a big pumpkin or something, and they'll be like, where is the drawing you're using? You know, what's your inspiration? And it's just like, every time I swing this, the inspiration starts coming out, and then I have a kind of a loose concept in my head. And if I go a little deeper here and I see a shadow, well, guess what? That's going to become this. And I'm going to kind of sort the puzzle together. I know the emotion that I want, usually, and that's just about it. Everything else is kind of born of your brain, and I kind of like doing that, because then nobody can say I'm ripping them off.
Right. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
One, because I'm not talented enough to, and two, because I don't have the patience to draw results with. But I love hearing that you guys have that mind to just dive right in, and it shows. I mean, it's sick. I mean, the friggin' muscle structure is insane.
Yeah, you guys must take anatomy courses or teach them at this point. Yeah,
it looks like my 6-pack right now.
Yeah, right.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah. So, when we loving superhero comics like we did, this was something we had to do immediately. Was start looking at anatomy and thinking about anatomy a lot, and we used every like sort of Schwarzenegger's guide.
Right.
We love that in Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Yeah.
It's just this huge paperback. And a lot of the pictures, I think they updated it with color photos. But back in the day, a lot of the pictures were just black and white. And a lot of the guys nowadays are so hugely big.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and back in the 70s, you could see the anatomy a little bit better. As far as like understanding what was really going on, you know.
Right.
Yeah, they're so big now that it's almost freaky, you know.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
If you sculpt that, it almost looks so over the top. A lot of these 70s guys or even early 80s are sleeker a little bit, and you can really see the definition and
The Frank Zane.
yeah.
Your style is like look at that.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go, man. You know all about it. Exactly.
That's it.
Well,
That's
guys,
the book.
I'm gonna bust Mickey right now. You guys might not know this, but Mickey was a professional wrestler, so I'm pretty sure he was trying to look like Arnold at one point.
Yeah, this was on my coffee table when I was like doing sit-ups in front of the TV. It's definitely was a motivation.
That's crazy that you had it right there at hand.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I knew as soon as you said Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm just like, I'm reaching for it. I'm like, where is it? Where is it? And then you guys said it. So perfect timing.
Yeah, it was critical for us. And we would cut out all these bodybuilding magazines and put all the pictures on a big piece of cardboard so it was right in front of us, you know, so that we could see all these different angles. Understanding what the anatomy is doing, you know, under the skin is a big part of it. And we try to tell kids to study that shit as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And looking at this picture too, you push the bounds of it because I think he has a six-pack just on that top row in between his pectorals.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Evil takes a lot of sit-ups. You got to see that.
That's right.
So
So a lot-
push the
A
boundaries.
lot of your stuff too. You have scenes, you know, very beautiful. Like it tells a story instantly. So do you talk through that? I imagine you're kind of if you're not drawing it up, you talk through like I want to have this beautiful young girl holding the hand of a giant monster or whatever it is. But
Exactly.
okay.
Every
time we talk about that stuff, and so there are some tricks we use. Sometimes we like to play with scale. So if you can make a giant monster, but then if you add a human, tiny human next to it, it changes the piece completely, you know.
Right.
You realize how big the monster is. But we also like to play with this a sort of ambiguity between the relationships. If there's a little girl with her hand on the dragon, it's like, whoa, is that dangerous? Are they friends? Are they enemies? Is she trying to make peace?
Right.
And we don't like to tell people a lot. It's like in the sculpture, to each person, it's a different kind of story, you know.
Right.
We have a piece like that, a little girl and a dragon called Tallulah and the Stray. And we won't tell people who the Stray is and who Tallulah is, whether Tallulah is a dragon or whether Tallulah is a little girl, because it's kind of cooler if people think about it and make their own decisions about it, I think.
I know exactly the piece you're talking about, and I'm a big fan. And I always looked at it as if she was from BioShock or one of those things where it's that's her minion almost. You know, that's just like my brain goes to that. But
right.
But
exactly.
But right, you look at it, and it could be the opposite. It could be like she's about to die. You know, it's like
But we love you know, we're working on a book for a publisher in England, 3D Total, a sculpting book. And we talk about this a lot in the book about storytelling. With even the sculptures we do that are one character, we want it to tell a story, you know?
Right.
Something's about to happen, something just happened, you know, and we're always thinking about that because when you're sitting there for 100 freaking hours, you got to think about what's going on here. What am I doing? You know, what's going on in this.
And sometimes it'll evolve, like you were showing the deal with the devil piece, the Minotaur and the guy with the hammer underneath him. And at first it was like a fight scene, and then it just slowed down more and more until it was just conversational. You know, they were just standing there kind of.
They're like, all right, what are we going to do here? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a negotiation in our minds. Yeah. But these things often morph in our heads as we're doing them. We think a piece is going to be one thing, and it sort of changes to something else while we're working on it.
Would you say they mutate?
That's exactly it would.
Maniacally. They maniacally.
Like a robot.
Yeah. Like a flirty robot.
Like a flirty,
So we actually have some questions.
I can't wait to get this book. Right. Before you get to questions, how long before I can get this book?
Yeah. I want to cover that thing.
So I think they have like 6 months or less. They're working on the editing and design and all that stuff.
We have finally finished all. It took us forever, honestly. It was a ton of work, but we've done all our stuff and we've given it over to the great editors who've been very patient with us.
Yes.
And so there's actually going to be 2 books.
Right.
People who order it straight from the 3D Total site, there's going to be a mini promotional book that they'll also get, as opposed to ordering it through like a bookseller or Amazon.com.
And in our book, we have 3. We do 3 or 4 tutorials in the book, but we have 3 guest sculptors, friends of ours.
Okay.
Great movie concept sculptor Simon Spider Zero Lee.
Spider Zero, he's insane.
He does a demo in our book. Eris Colaconte is a great Greek sculptor.
Oh, yeah.
And this wonderful woman sculptor, Forrest Rogers, who does some of the most beautiful stuff we've ever seen. So we've got those guys in tow adding to help make our book better.
Wow.
Really.
Oh, that's insane. I can't wait to get it, guys, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, so when is it coming out, by the way?
I think it's like somewhere between 4 and 6 months from now.
Okay, so Christmas.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Mickey, this is my Christmas present, Mickey.
Yeah, guess what I'm getting you guys for Christmas?
Thank you.
We're all going to get it for each other.
Yeah, I love it.
We do have people watching and asking questions. So McFrazzlestash wants to know, what was the first sculpt you guys tag teamed on?
Good question.
It might have been a Deep Space Nine bridge scene that was like delusions of grandeur. We thought we were going to build the whole Deep Space Nine like deck or something, But it was like Cisco, it was Odo, and maybe Kira, who
but Kira Nerys.
Yeah, it was but one of for myself, I think I had done like a Wolverine and a Juggernaut, but when I saw Brandon, he was off at college and he was telling me, I'm doing a Doctor Strange, and I was like, awesome. But when I saw that Doctor Strange, I thought, oh, this is cool. We can both do it. And that was kind of when the idea of the Shiflett Brothers were going to, onward and upward thing.
That's awesome.
Wow. Okay. So you're a few years younger, right?
Yeah.
So how old were you at that point? Like, I'm just trying to get some scope of because I'm old as hell, and I'm trying to think of when this is going back a number of years. So how old were you back then when you were going to see him at college?
I think I was about 16 years old, and he was about 19 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good perspective. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd never sculpted anything before I was 20. So that was the first.
Okay.
I'd never done that. I tried to draw all my life, but not sculpt.
So,
wow.
Like, even in school, you didn't, like in art class, they didn't just throw some clay at you. You didn't like Play-Doh. Like, that's insane to me.
I don't remember ever doing anything with clay. Ever.
Wow.
You should try your head at the stock market. You'd probably be good at that too. Like, pick that up. Wow.
Yeah. I don't remember growing up and because I took a ton of art classes in high school and in grade school and stuff like that, but they never did clay. They always did the normal clay pot where you put it in a
pottery,
and that was it. That was the long and the short of it. But actually making something out of it was that was foreign. Yeah.
Mickey, I was going to ask these guys about screw you, Mickey. I'll just ask you. So you guys have a and Paul and I and Mickey have talked about Patreon, and you guys have a badass Patreon page, and you've anyway. But I've been seeing bits and pieces of it. There it is on your forum and in Instagram, for instance. So tell us about it, because I'm curious as to what it's new to me. I just found out about Patreon. I'm a newbie when it all comes to this stuff, but there it is. The Patreon.
Yeah,
I saw that.
nice.
I saw that online. Yeah. Okay. So tell me about it. What's
So,
going
so
on?
the Patreon page, what it is you can join us on Patreon for like $1 a month. There are different levels where you get different things, rewards, different kinds of access. But for $1 or $5 a month or something, you can get almost all the videos we post. We post exclusive stuff. We post never before seen sculptures, and almost everything we've ever done has been seen, but we pull old stuff that's never been seen off the shelves. We post new sculptures that we've done that no one's seen. And importantly, we do a lot of instructional videos. We do a lot of process videos where we're showing what we're thinking when we're sculpting faces. And of course, we've always shown all this stuff transparently. Right. But now we're doing more of it where fans get to see exclusive stuff behind the scenes on our Patreon.
Yeah, we have a ton of videos on YouTube. I think, we have a bunch on Facebook as well. But the Patreon is the new stuff. And we're just started doing the live streams that are live. So they're raw and unedited. And on the Patreon, I think we're right at 100 videos, and the last, I think about 23 of them have been live. So that's just a new feature of Patreon, and it just makes it fun. We might drill into our hand, or we don't know what can happen because it's live.
Yeah.
But a lot of these we're working and it's process stuff. But sometimes Jared and I will get together and we'll just talk about the industry and that's happening in our careers and what we think about certain artists. I mean, it's all good. Obviously, we love everybody, but it's just it's a cool situation over there where we can. It's a cool situation where we can post things behind the scenes and new stuff that nobody's seen before.
Wow.
That's
okay.
awesome.
And then
community.
Yeah, and I think I love that, because a lot of the stuff from Patreon, for instance, is or any one of those learning sites or those kind of things, they help support artists at the same time give you access to something you probably wouldn't have ever gotten had the silly internet not been invented. It's like it's a really it's kind of a cool, like, you get to actually see behind the scenes and the instructional. You guys are just known for being kind of open source. Folks, right? You're helping the community out, which I think in the heart of most sculptors, that's where they are. They all want to help, because for me, when I just like geek out on somebody's amazing stuff, I love to know how they did it, not to steal it, but just to be like, shit, that's awesome. Just like for no other reason. But so just to kind of turn onto your forum or to your Patreon page and see that kind of stuff is just really fun.
We always wanted to encourage everyone who wanted to sculpt, but now with ZBrush and these programs, I think we're even more committed to if a young kid wants to sculpt in clay, holy shit, man, we want to encourage that. Yeah. We want to hold his hand. We want to tell him every step of the way. If somebody wants to do it traditional, the old way, we're those old dinosaurs, then we definitely want some boy or girl or whatever the beginner is to not ignore the traditional. I mean, I think even these digital ZBrush artists, a lot of whom are fucking amazing. These guys, if they every once in a while keep their hands dirty in clay and the physical weight of these pieces, of the gravity, I think it helps their digital art as well. And
100%.
That's part of what we evangelize about.
Yeah, that's a super great point. I always say, like, I told my son's 19, and so he's his vision of the world is like, hey, everything started in 2002. So I always tell him, I go, like, I can show you what an HTML page is. Like there's literal code that makes this page, and it's not very complex, and it'll run on the internet. It could go around the world. But obviously, the more stuff that goes on today, there's a lot of coding that goes along with it, and it's like it's for functionality and all this other stuff. So I think that's a great lesson. And I love that you've done a Patreon as well, because Patreon definitely supports creators. So
for sure.
I love that you've been on that platform, and Patreon has been very supportive of artists and just people just doing this.
For sure.
And you guys have like 100 and almost 30, right? Patreon.
That's about right. I think about 130 patrons. And then, in turn, Jared and I also support 10 or 12 different artists.
Right. I think that's the beauty of it. Yeah, you turn around and give it back.
And I often talk to people about that on our forum or whatever. Here are the people who me and Jared support. These artists that we love,
Czar and Miss
Alan
Monster,
Williams,
Forrest Rogers.
That's right.
Both get a pencil, Mickey.
2D and 3D.
Yes, I'm writing quickly.
And so and if anybody, I appreciate you guys mentioning it, but if anybody wants to check that out, it's patreon.com/Shiflett Bros.
Yep.
BROS.
Here we go.
Okay.
So it's
Shiflett,
SHIFLETT. Yeah, BROS. Thanks, man. We appreciate that.
Oh, our pleasure. And it's definitely a great way to support. And you can support for like $1 a month. It's like it's not even it's just saying thanks for just doing what you do. It's really awesome. I definitely wanted to get to some of the other comments real quick.
For sure.
You could just bang these out.
Sure.
What advice do you have for artists that want to break onto the scene?
So
depends on the scene.
It's all changed a little bit. Like I said, I think still to this day that the San Diego Comic-Con, when it comes back, obviously from this pandemic, when it comes back, is still a great place to go. Nowadays, you can get discovered on the internet, which is not an option Jared and I had back in the day.
Yeah.
But obviously you can. I would tell people about making a portfolio. I always try to tell people, it needs to be just your best stuff. People don't need to see every freaking thing you've done back 100%. To high school. I think a lot of younger kids are in this kind of the internet world where everything's so transparent. I'm going to show every single thing at every single stage. Sometimes people say to me, everything y'all post is so perfect. The sculptures, everything y'all do is so perfect. And I will tell them, everything we post is so perfect. It's not perfect. Yeah. We screw up all the time. It's just you guys aren't seeing that because we're trying to be discerning a little bit about our own stuff. And so I would tell these kids, it doesn't need to be every single thing you've ever done. Get 8 or 10 of your best things. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link thing when somebody's flipping through a video. And I would say, sort of like Coco Chanel, look in the mirror and take one thing off. Even when you get it narrowed down, I think you should look through there and take the weakest thing out. Even if you have 10 pieces, look through there and you think they're all good. Still take one weak thing out and it'll improve your chances.
Yep. Do great work and network.
That's huge.
Networking is huge. That's my throw in there. Absolutely.
That's what I was going to say was go to the conventions. And it's maybe it's not the most timely advice because of the pandemic and stuff, but the San Diego Comic-Con is great, but there are, like I was saying, we got started at the Dallas Fantasy Fair. So even your local art shows or conventions, try to get a table, a booth, a panel, whatever it is, and
get your stuff out in the world.
Get your stuff out there, definitely.
100%. Yep. Definitely. We're at an hour and 15, which is usually when we try to, see what the Carvers are doing. But I definitely wanted to get this one in really quickly. Let's go with 2 of these real quick. Do you have a favorite sculpture?
So, one of my favorite sculptures that we've ever done, we were
not that we've ever done, just a favorite.
Oh, a favorite sculpture ever.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so full of myself.
Wow.
It could go either way, I guess.
So mine and Jared's heroes are mostly Japanese guys who seem to be ahead of us in terms of figures and stuff. This guy named Takayuki Takeya, everyone acknowledges as one of the great sculptors of our time. He did this sculpture called Operation in Progress, where this creature is operating on himself and it's all splayed out on a table, that I just think is some kind of masterpiece. And I would say that Operation in Progress is one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Wow.
I might
Looking
say
it up, Mickey?
Gates of Hell to look at. I find interesting.
Yeah. We also love like the creature from the Black Lagoon suit. I guess Millicent.
Oh yeah.
Sculpted and designed that. I just think that thing was so long ago, and you look at it now, and it's like still wicked. I don't know how it still holds up the way it does.
Yeah.
And it's surprisingly complicated. The more you look at it, the more it's like starts doing your head in.
Nice.
So cool.
Godzilla fans, and have you sculpted any Godzilla kaiju?
This is interesting because we love Godzilla, but we haven't sculpted a lot of them.
Yeah.
We haven't.
I don't think we've ever sculpted a Godzilla.
No, we have never sculpted any Godzilla. We've actually got something on the back table that I don't think we can talk about yet. That is a Godzilla-related kaiju, but it's not Godzilla himself. Yeah. But when we can talk about it, I promise you we will.
All right. It's foreshadowing.
Sure.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking a loaded question. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah. And lastly, have you tried ZBrush? I mean, is there any other 3D programs that you use, Lightwave or Maya?
So
Cinema
we do
4D?
not. We have not. A lot of our best friends are ZBrush sculptors, and we know a lot of total badasses. We just have not done anything digitally yet. Yeah. We're traditional guys. We've given a traditional sculpture to one of our friends, Martine Canali, who has then digitally sculpted onto it, who's made a scan of it and then digitally sculpted onto it. So that was a cool collaboration.
Oh yeah.
We look into getting our stuff scanned and resizing it and stuff, but for us to sculpt in digital, that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
All right. So I'm definitely going to whip through some of your pieces here before we go to Matt and Paul and see what they've been carving.
Yeah.
I mean,
this for Marvel Comics.
I mean, unbelievable. I mean, the level of detail in this is just outstanding.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, this
Oh boy.
Unbelievable stuff here. And
Lobo from DC Comics.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
So we say this to every guest. We're gonna have to have you back because your body of work. I mean, I'm very blessed that I'm able to go to your Instagram and find way too many things. I can't even decide what to have.
Right.
So thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
But to flip through everything and just see I mean, this is just outstanding work. And you have other people do photography for you, which and you give credit to the people who take the photography, which I think is outstanding. Because you're right, your work is outstanding, but then a great picture makes it even more impactful.
Oh yeah,
and we suck at taking pictures.
Yeah, we do.
So hey, at some point, my mom was like, "Do what you do best and hire the rest."
Yes.
And so that's what we're doing, man.
great advice.
Great advice.
Here's a halfway decent sculpture. Please take a good picture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, please get the lighting right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just outstanding work, and we talked about this before. And actually, I mean, then I go to this.
Wow.
I mean, and this is this. Is this halfway done, or is this all the way done?
It was a little bit. It's rough. Never been fully finished. It's never been fully finished, and that belongs to a private now. Some of these pieces do, but yeah, that one was pretty rough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. And
one thing I love about your work, and I think we've seen it a few times, is that it looks like, and I think we talked this yesterday for a minute, but it's the artist gets up and walks away, and you have that.
Yes.
You put the detail where it matters, and you put the motion and the emotion in, and it doesn't have to be completely polished. I just can't. I love it. It's just an absolute something draws your eye to it every single time, and you know that it anyway. For me, I'm just enamored, and this truly is one of my favorite of all time that I've seen you guys do, and I almost look at the guy and I feel compassionate for it. I don't know why. I'm like,
thanks, man.
he's had a hard go, and he's he's seen a lot of battles. I just instantly love him.
ZBrush can suck it, because I thought that was ZBrush. All right, that's how good you guys are. I thought that was ZBrush.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And just telling stories. I mean, just like
there it is.
There's so much.
Yeah, this guy. We call this monster the sea bear, and this guy is feeding him a fish. And the sea bear likes to eat fishes, and so this super rough guy is stretching up, trying to put a fish in his mouth.
Yeah,
and the roughness of the guy even makes it better. I swear to God, there's like, the fact that he's not wearing defined Levi's or something like that, it just makes it it's beautiful to me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yeah,
this is the Komodo King, and it's not really a Frazetta painting or a Frazetta piece, but you can see the Frank Frazetta influence of these fantasy artists from the 60s and 70s that we love.
Just amazing.
That would be what I wanted on the side of my van.
Exactly. Airbrush that, man.
Or a good back tattoo.
Hey, there's still time, Paul. Still time to get a van and put all this stuff on there.
Where am I going to put the kids and the wife?
Don't worry about it.
Well, it'll be full of stereo equipment, man.
Just get your van and figure it out.
That's a good point.
Just absolutely awesome. So I definitely wanted to see where Matt and Paul are at. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, those look great.
Yeah. Oh God.
All right. So since Matt doesn't want to go first, I will put him first.
All right. So
nice move, Mickey.
All right. So I'm constantly spraying this because, as you guys all know, produce dries out. So right now, my evil. What is he? Evil something.
It's radiated evil.
Radiated evil. Okay. So right now he's emerged. His face is kind of emerging from what is going to be a toxic stew that is now kind of attached to his skin, and so he's got like his double chins that are building up around his neck, just from swelling, and he's kind of pulling up through it. So he's evil. So he'll be kind of enjoying it, but at the same time, stuck with all this stuff. Now, this is what it started like. So
right.
I got a lot of work to do still.
That is so cool.
It looks cool.
It's so cool.
He's moving out of the darkness somehow.
Definitely. Good job, man.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at this point in the show is usually where I'm roughing out, so I'm working on the mouth really. So.
Oh.
Yeah, good teeth.
That's rad. Oh my gosh, yeah, the teeth are amazing.
Super underbite.
So I have sort of that pulling, like that.
Yeah,
fish
the most
effect to it.
Definitely.
Like, it's getting a lot heavier over here with the fluid from the radiation poisoning. And then I don't know what I'm doing with this yet, but I had to save a circle for an eye socket of some sort.
I just want to say one more time. I mean, we have mad respect for this. I mean, Jared and Mike could try this and be better than your average person, but we wouldn't be doing what you guys are doing. We have mad respect for what y'all do.
Thank you so much, man. That means a lot. That means the world.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And you notice he was talking to me, Matt?
He said guys with the plural.
Most of the time.
Thank you so much, man. We really do appreciate that. It's an absolute honor to have you guys on. And we've been I know personally, and Matt have talked about it, but I've been looking at your stuff for years. Like when I first started wanting to sculpt, of course, it was the early internet days, but you could Google sculpture and you guys would pop up. And I go, well, I guess I'm not going to be a sculptor because I can't do that.
That's nice.
So thank you for the
we felt the same
the
exact way seeing people's stuff. Yeah. Thank you for playing us out. We really, really appreciate it.
That is nice.
Yeah, one thing I'll throw out there is I fell in love with all your Frazetta stuff and the large creature or the large demon with the voluptuous female or whatever. And it reminds me of when my older brother, when I was a kid, who would, I think we talked about this a second yesterday, but he would put these big Frazetta pictures up on his wall, and I think in retrospect it was just so he could have a scantily clad or nude woman on his wall.
Hell yeah.
God bless him.
But I just was in love with the Conan theme, the whole like, you know, the beasts, and just like staring at it, and like really unfinished, beautiful art. But when I say unfinished, like it was kind of zone out at the edges and stuff like that. But you knew what was happening. You saw the motion, you saw the emotion. It was just beautiful. And anyway, and then so when I see your stuff, and I see, it just kind of brings me back to being, you know, in my brother's room, staring at that giant painting or poster on his wall, and just really cool stuff, and just kind of helps motivate me to keep at it.
Thanks, man. That means a lot.
When you sculpt, as you guys know, you're alone in a room for hours and hours on end. So to hear you guys say that about our stuff, it really means something to us.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's so worth it. My wife just yelled at me, by the way, in the chat. It's mutated, not radiated.
Yeah.
Oh, Mickey deleted the part where she called me a moron. She did. Thanks, hon. You're the best.
Yeah.
Tell her this is a little bit of both. You know, we love both words. How's that? Mutated.
First of all, they both mean the same thing. It's just consonants and vowels.
Exactly. It's still just a piece of produce. You know, what can you do?
Yeah.
Well,
right.
if you want to see more from the Shiflett Brothers, please check out their Instagram. Is there anywhere else that we can find you? You know, I actually have, your website here that you can find a lot of your work. But obviously, your Instagram is
Instagram. We're on Twitter, Patreon, and then for that forum that we've talked about, just go onto Facebook and search Shifflett Brothers Sculpting Forum. Yeah. And it'll pop up for you if you're looking for that sculpting forum online.
Yeah, come on in. We welcome any kind of sculpture you're doing, and we try to keep it friendly,
at any level as well.
Yeah.
We have past masters, we have beginners. Yep. Wherever you are on the road, you're welcome to come in and shop with us.
Definitely.
And you know what? I can attest that it's a breath of fresh air.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. It brightened up my Facebook feed, especially after this last year of just shit. All of a sudden my feed is just flooded with cool sculpture and everybody being cool to each other. It was a great thing when I signed up.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only thing I was going to mention is you can share it. So like on anything on Facebook, just pick 10 friends and share it with them. Because, at the end of the day, the world needs more art, it needs more sculptors, it needs like positivity and just kind of seeing cool stuff that cool people are doing. I mean, there's nothing better than turning on Facebook and seeing that stuff versus everything else that's going bad in the world. So I'm a huge fan for that reason alone. If it just share it. I'm just my PSA is take that forum and share the living hell out of it. Give it to everybody on your list on Facebook.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thanks, man.
Definitely. So thank you again for joining us tonight. I mean, we're loving the fact that we get to not only interact with some of our favorite artists, but also get to support the arts at the same time. So thank you for being here tonight. If you want to find Carvers and Creators, this is where you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. Matt, did you have anything that you wanted to plug at the end?
Those two. Follow
okay.
I'll be the puppet master. You guys see if you can talk. And,
He's the puppet master, yeah.
I would just thank you so much for coming on and just being a part of this. And Paul and I just love the fact that you're accessible and that you've been able to chat with us. But that's you though anyway. So we're just not. I guess I'm not surprised. But just over the moon. Thank you.
It was a blast, and we want to come back. We want to come back.
Thank you so much.
Oh, we'll definitely have you back.
Heck yeah.
Paul, did you have anything before we leave?
Yeah, like I said, if you're on Facebook and you're looking for a good algorithm in your feed, sign up for the Shiflett Brothers forum. It's fantastic. Yeah. And if you're what's the word? Aspiring, not radiated but mutated. Aspiring artist. I would definitely sign up for the Patreon because you're gonna get tips that if I could have had when I was a younger lad, I would have been much appreciative of. So you guys are very lucky to live in the day and age that we're in right now, where you can just sign up and get instant access to these guys. So go over to Patreon and sign up for that too.
Thank you.
100%. So at Carvers and Creators, a little note: we're actually doing a recording this weekend with an international talent, which we will talk about later. But we will be back next Thursday with a live Carvers and Creators. So please join us 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much to the Shiflett Brothers for being here today. And we will see you soon. Hopefully, we try to plan everything like before Halloween, but we'll probably have like a cavalcade of people during that time. So we definitely would like to have you back.
Better yet,
Thanks, y'all. Carvers and Creators, we appreciate it.
thank
course,
you.
guys.
Maybe we can get them to take the challenge. Maybe we'll get them to carve a pumpkin.
We're gonna get him to carve a pumpkin next time.
We can do that. We can try.
Hey,
A life-size
time for everything.
Schwarzenegger pumpkin.
There you go.
All right,
Hey,
y'all.
they already jumped me in too. So like, you guys, it'll be cake. It'll be cake for you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
See you
We will
guys.
see you next week. Good night, everyone.
Good night.